Greetings, students. Welcome to your first semester of Esterbrook University. I will be your professor, and this is going to be the first in a number of videos. I'm going to do these periodically, and they'll probably take me the better part of a year or more to get through everything I want to talk to you folks about Esterbrook pens. I have a decent collection of Esterbrook's. I've been collecting them for a while. I've done a whole lot of restoration work on them, etc. So I want to talk about all those different topics. So it's going to take a while to get through them all. And there's quite a few different models of pens of Esterbrook as well. So this first video is going to be a fairly brief introduction to Esterbrook, the company, the pens, etc. And hopefully you folks will enjoy it and appreciate this. So the Esterbrook Pen Company was founded in 1856 and existed until 1971. It was located in the city of Camden, which is located in New Jersey. New Jersey is a state on the east coast of the United States and is the birthplace of several famous Americans, such as Frank Sinatra, Frankie Valli, John Bon Jovi, Bruce Springsteen, and Meryl Streep. The pens that I'm going to primarily focus on were the pens that were made between roughly 1934 and the demise of Esterbrook. For the first part of the life of the Esterbrook Pen Company, they made pens, but what were called pens in those days, we would call nibs now. So they made basically nibs for dip pens for the first nearly century of their existence, and they were a major, if not the largest U.S. manufacturer of those. They made hundreds and hundreds of thousands of those a year, and then they started making fountain pens. And what I'm going to talk about is the fountain pens in particular they made from starting around 1934 onwards. Okay, I'm going to do a brief rundown now between the pens that were made between roughly 1934 and 1960, which form the main basis for at least the collection that I have and have most of Esterbrook's most popular pens. There are other pens, especially afterwards, that I'll talk about a little bit as well as pencils and a few other things like that, which we'll also talk about. And again, this is more of a quick introduction. I'm going to have subsequent in-depth detailed videos on each of these pens. So what we're looking at here basically represents the main product line in the fountain pen offering from Esterbrook between, say, 1934 and 1942. We have here what's called the dollar pen. We have the transitional. We have the model J pen. We have the model LJ pen, and we have the model SJ pen. So let's just briefly go over each of these in turn. The dollar pen was introduced in 1934 and was sold until approximately 1942, and it was called the dollar pen because, as you could probably guess, it cost $1, at least in this basic solid color black finish. It is a plastic pen with flat ends. The clip is a thin clip that is stainless steel. By the way, one nice feature of all the Esterbrook pens that I'm going to be showing you is that all of the trim and hardware is all made out of stainless steel, which makes restoring these very, very nice, and you can get really good results because you can polish them quite nicely. They're not nickel plated or anything like that. So basically we're dealing with a stainless steel clip, a cap band, and a lever fill. So like all Esterbrook pens of this era, at least, they were lever fillers, traditional lever filler with a sack, etc. And I'll go into the internals of the filling mechanism again in a subsequent video. So they're all twist to unscrew caps. And now we see what I think is one of the nicest things about Esterbrook pens, the Esterbrook stainless steel nib unit. They made many different nibs, dozens of them in fact, and they all, from the entire time they were making fountain pens from 1934 until 1971, when they stopped production, they all feature these interchangeable nib units, which just simply unscrew, and you could put any nib they offered in any pen, and they're really easy. So it makes restoring them nice and easy, and it makes replacing the nibs nice and easy. They're all steel nibs, various widths, degrees of flexibility, thicknesses, firmness, softness, etc. So they made a wide range of them, but they're all nice interchangeable stainless steel nibs. And again, I'll go into those in some degree of detail. So this is sort of their basic offering, the Esterbrook dollar pen, again from around 1934 till around 1942. They then entered a transitional period, and the pen they offered then is what is now called the transition pen. The reason it's called the transition pen is it's the transition between the dollar pen, which we just saw, and this model J pen, which came a little bit later. So the transition pen was offered from around 1944 to around 1948. It might actually be one of my favorite pens of theirs. It has a flat bottom. It has a wider cap band, as you can see, than on the dollar pen, and this wider cap band pretty much stayed through the end. And it had this style of heavier style clip with a band that went around and a plastic jewel on the top, again, which stayed pretty much throughout their production. Also lever filler, and of course, as I said, also the classic Esterbrook interchangeable nib unit, which is going to be a feature of every pen that we see. So that's the transition pen. So it transitioned from this dollar pen to the transition pen to the model J pen. So the model J pen basically changed from the transition pen. Instead of having this plain flat bottom, you have a jewel on both ends. They're often referred to as the Esterbrook double jewel pen. The J pen actually came in 3 different sizes, and there are only subtle differences. So you had the standard model J, and then you had the model LJ, which is slightly longer and thinner. So L presumably stood for long model J, or maybe ladies model J, because it's a thinner pen, but it's just a tiny bit longer and it is thinner. And then you had the model SJ, which is the same thinner pen as the model LJ, but shorter than the model J. So you had the model J, which was in the middle lengthwise. You had the model LJ, which is slightly longer but thinner, and the model SJ, which was slightly shorter but thinner. So different lengths and 2 different widths. Other than that, the same pen. If you happen to be at a pen show and you see an Esterbrook just sitting around and you don't have anything to compare it to, and you're wondering if it's a J or an LJ or an SJ, well, one quick way to tell the J from the other 2 is that on the model J, if you look at the jewels, the cap jewel is noticeably bigger than the jewel at the end, whereas on both the LJ and the SJ, they're both smaller and the same size. So that's a quick way of at least identifying if you're dealing with a J versus an SJ or an LJ without having any way of measuring it or comparing them. Again, same cap band, same lever fill mechanism. They all take the same nibs, etc. So that is the offering from Esterbrook in terms of the model J pen. And so here we're pretty much looking at the Esterbrook offerings from all 1934 through the Model Js. The Model Js were made from 1948 to around 1960. Least you think that all Esterbrook made was boring black pens. Nothing could be farther from the truth. As a matter of fact, they made all of their pens in a minimum of 6 different colors, and there were even variants of these colors as well, but they have very often what are referred to as the 6 official colors of the pens. We'll go into depth about all the color offerings, etc., but suffice to say they offered a colorful variety of pens as well. They also made pencils that matched, so the pencils were very often in the LJ size to complement the LJs, and these are very nicely made mechanical pencils. We'll be talking about those in a subsequent video as well. They also, as we went into the 1960s and the early 1970s, started making pens that were a bit more modern looking, such as this one and this one, etc. And again, I'll be doing further in-depth videos of these, but interestingly enough, they still use the exact same nib unit. So you could have a pen made perhaps as late as, say, 1971 that was still using nib units for pens made in 1934, which is a really, really cool thing. So we forgot one other thing. They also made these little purse pens, both with and without clips, and a whole other set of colors and pastels, etc. So we'll be talking about these a little bit as well. And yes, yet again, of course, same interchangeable nib unit. So you can probably detect a nice theme going on here regarding the nibs. So that will be about it. Wait a minute. We can't have a fountain pen video without showing any writing. We gotta do some writing. So let's do that right now. Okay, what I'm writing with here is an Esterbrook. Model LJ, and this is an interesting model LJ because it was made for Bell Telephone Company for the workplace and has Bell System property imprinted on it. And this nib is a 2442 Falcon nib. And I really like the shape of that nib. It's kind of a cool shape to it. So this is a neat nib. We're going to talk about the nibs in detail. I'm going to go over all the nibs, at least all the ones that I have, and there'll probably be a whole video into itself. And this ink, in case you're interested, is Noodler's Heart of Darkness. Okay, so got to see some writing. This was, again, like I said, a brief introduction to Esterbrook. I'm going to be going over all these pens, all these different subjects in detail. This was meant to be just a brief introduction, and give me some time. It's going to take many months to get through all this material, but I think we'll all have learned something in the end, and I hope you'll join me for the journey. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Please subscribe and continue to hit the like button. I do thank you very much for your time. And as always, have a good day. Bye-bye.